welcome to this exciting episode of Bob the Sciman. Today, on our never ending Flexi series, we're going to go ahead and lay out a directional sign similar to this, except I'm going to change the, uh, the cities in there. I have no idea where those are. And so I'll show you how we do that. See, it's got that split in the middle. So you actually have two panels there, rounded here, squared here. No fear, the sign man is here. Okay, so let me find that 1.50. Let's give it a 1.5 inch radius and click enter. Okay, come back up to your select tool. I'm going to hold down on my control and see how you can zoom it in and out. You can also shift, that'll give you your, size if you want it. And just without holding on to the control, see how it'll go up and down. Hold down on your shift and you can go sideways so you don't always have to come in and move your toggles. You can do either or, whatever works for you. Shift. Sometimes I don't always remember all the shortcuts, but like I said, whatever's going to work for you. And then what I'm going to do is once I do that, I want to center this thing so I can set out some grid lines and stuff. So I'm going to bring this over onto the 0, and I'm going to come down to the 0. And I will use my tabs to get my grid lines centered kind of in the center of my page. And then this is going to say I want to center this horizontal. Go ahead and click this. See how that turned the little, click on your grid line, see the little white box. Hold down on your shift key, hold this. Now I want to snap that to the center, which is right here. You can let go of your shift key. So now see how I brought it to the center? See the little white boxes? It's right in the center now. Now I want to get that to the center of the vertical line. See how I held down on the shift? Like I said, do all that. Or you can do this. Select it, see how the white box appears. Just use your little arrow keys, those 4 little arrow keys, and you can slide it over like that. And when you get right, centered where you want it, there you are. So now there's the absolute center of our sign right there. So now what we want to do is we want to add the borders around there. And these signs vary from however long they're going to be. So they vary on your thickness and on your borders. So all intents and purposes of this, let's just do a 5/8 inch border. So we're going to click this and we want to do our outline tool. So we're going to come up to effects and we're going to do the outline. Okay, so you have outline, which is going to put it on the outside. See how I put it on the outside? Well, we want to come inline and we want to put that radius on the inline. The top one is going to give you the width of your border and this will give you your offset. Well, we have no border. We're just going to do one offset, and that is going to be 0.625. And then remember, we're always going to click the apply button. So now we have applied it. So there's our sign laid out. 48, click on the outside there. It's 48 by 24, okay? And we want to put that split in the middle. We want to split these in half. We want to leave the borders round, but we want squared here. So in order to do that, it's real simple. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit so we can kind of show you a little thing here. So come up to your shape tool. We're going to click a rectangle. See how it put a little bullseye there, a little crosshair? Put your little crosshair, your verticals in the middle. Drag it out over to here and let it go. And now you just want, since it's highlighted still, you just want regular and you want 0.625 because that's the length of our border we're doing. And then we're just going to click enter, okay? And we're going to turn that into a wire. So now what we want to do is we want to center this little bar that we made, a little separation. You can do, several ways. You can scroll down. You can snap it to the middle. Another thing you can do is select all that. hold down on your control and hit the number 5 key. Not the F5, but the number 5 key, and it'll center it. Okay? So there we have it. And I'm going to move this. So I'm going to get rid of this. Not really get rid of it. I'm just going to move it out of the way for the time being. Now, if we send this off to the cutter, we're going to get everything in here. We're going to get the outside. We're going to get this. We're going to get that. And it's going to show those little cut grids in there. And we don't want to do that. Let me show you. So if we send it off, see how it's going to get those little cut grids. Plus, it's going to get the outside. We want to separate all this. Yeah, let's go ahead and separate the outside. So we want to separate the outline, and we want to uncompound it. Uncompounding means that now they're not joined together anymore. They're all individual. So we're going to take this inside one, click it, and then we're going to take this bar here, click it, and then we're going to come up to Effects and click on the, or scroll down to the Combine, come over, and where it says Cut Out, cut it out. Okay, go back up here. Now see what it did? It cut that out. So now when we go to do our sign blank, I'll show you what it's going to look like. We're going to go solid fill. Let's go green, because that's what it's going to be, a directional sign. As you can see now, you have your two panels. They're rounded radius up top where they should be, and they're nice and flat in here. Now we're all set up to add our text in. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to turn these. See how I did that? I just clicked on those where it says green. I'm going to turn them back to traffic black. Then I'm going to go wireframe. It's just so much easier to work with. Now I'm going to bring that grid back in. Okay, so I want to make sure I get that right on where I want it. So I highlighted it, hold down on my shift, and you can see the, so I'll highlight that, and I'm going to go right to the middle. So now I'm right in the middle of the 0. So from here, so this is split in half. It's a 24-inch tall, so it's 12 inches, right? So half of that is going to be 6. So let's snap a grid line, 6 inches. There's 4, 5, there's 6 inches right there. And we'll do the same at the bottom. There's 4, 5, 6 inches. So now these are, and then we'll get rid of this middle one. It drives me crazy, too much clutter. Okay, so now let's get rid of this middle one. Too much clutter here. We'll pop it up here for now. So now these are all centered. This little box is centered. This little box is centered. So they're kind of like their own little zones now we're going to work with. So let's put some text in there. I think it's about something like this. We'll go Series C. Let's go 6 inch. And I'm going to go Napa, N-A-P-A. And here we'll go Sonoma, so N-O-M-A. Yeah, it's 2 cities that are nearby me. I do have a sign like this out on the road. So, okay, so there's Napa and Sonoma. I want to get this Napa on the grid line here. So this happened to be pretty close right there. And this Sonoma, let's bring it down a little bit. I'm just going to use my arrows, bring it down. So they're centered in the top here. You can see the S and the S. It's the same distance from the middle to here. So we're centered in the middle of this little box. So let's go ahead and, okay, now we're going to add in some directional arrows. Okay, select that, and select it, and we're going to copy it. And we'll come back to our page now. And let's go ahead and paste these 2 arrows. We got one here, and Sonoma's going to be this way. Paste here. Okay, so now let's get our arrows all on this same grid line here so they're even with the Napa. And Sonoma is going to be the other direction. So what we'll do is we're going to come up here since it's highlighted now, come up to your rotated key, and we're just going to click this, and we're just going to rotate that arrow around. Oops, went too far. So there's the arrow. I believe, just off the top of my head, I'm not going to look at that. I think there's like a 6-inch gap in between those. So what we're going to do, we're going to move our Napa over to our 0 grid line here. And then we're going to come out 6 inches. So there's 4, 5, 6 inches right there. And we're going to bring this arrow over. Okay, so there's 6 inches there. And let's do the same with this Sonoma. Let's just slide this over to the 0, so it's even there. And let's slide 4, there's 5, there's 6 inches there. And slide our arrow over. Okay, so now those are all, I'm going to get rid of these grid lines. Like I said, they drive me up the wall. So now let's double check our arrow, make sure it's perfect there. Napa is on the grid line, Sonoma on the lines, and that's on the line. So now we want to take our, let's just turn that into a, both of these, we'll turn these into a solids. So let's take our Napa arrow, hold down on the shift, the Napa, and we want to group those together. Okay, now that they're grouped together, we want these to be spaced evenly in there, and you can see how it's off a little bit. So let's just slide those over a little bit. There we go. And we're going to do the same with the Sonoma. Click the Sonoma and click the arrow. We're going to group them and see how it's way off. Obviously, it's way off center. It's off the paint. It's off the sign there. So we'll slide those over. Okay, so there's that. Let's get rid of these grid lines right now. That they really drive me up the wall when I see too many of those. You can take them and snap them and move them, but I always end up moving something that I don't want to. So there we go. So I'm going to move these out of the way. Now we're kind of done with these. Now, not really done, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select everything. Select everything. There we go. Select everything. And I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste down here and toggle it. Otherwise it'll disappear. So hit my control. Get those a little smaller there. So now this is what it's going to look like when I send it off to the cutter. This is the one I'm going to send off to the cutter. I want to highlight the Napa and the Sonoma. And I want to group all those together because that's what's going to go off to my cutter. Now when I send this off to the cutter, it's going to cut out my panels. It'll put this, I just can weed that out. It puts a little cut line in there. You can get rid of it if you want or whatever. But so all you have to do then is peel out your letters and you're good to go. So what I like to do then, why I do the 2 copies is, just move this up here, is I like the 2 copies because I always kind of like to see what it's going to look like. So this, let's change this to traffic green and let's do a solid on it. And this, Napa and Sonoma, let's group it together and let's do a white on it. So there's what it's going to look like. There's my sign blank on the outside. You can see that's what the sign's going to look like. When I come over here to click this, let's get rid of this line out here. Let's just delete that. Let's just delete that outside line. So now when I come in here, all I have to do is click on the, let's turn those to this Napa and Sonoma. Let's ungroup that. I'm going to select all of this, hold down on my shift key. I'm going to exclude the outside border because right now I want to make that wireframe. I'm going to take the wireframe off. It's so much easier when you come in to send something back off to the cutter and you don't have the wireframe on the fonts because you have to click, get your little arrow right on the line. And this way I can just, what we'll do, excuse me, we'll group all this together. So now when you come in, all you have to do is just click it on, send it off to the cutter. So there's a little easy tip on how to make the split in the middle. So whenever you're making direction signs and you're lost for directions and you don't know how to make them, you can always turn to the sign man. As always, thanks for watching.